Can you tell us some of the misconceptions that people have around, again, not just bodybuilding, but building muscle and being on a ketogenic diet?
Yeah, so a lot of people assume that you can't build muscle in the absence of carbohydrates because they put insulin in such high regard and say, hey, look, you have to have insulin to build muscle. And that's not true. I mean, insulin is an extreme growth agent for sure. But as long as you're taking in enough calories, taking in enough protein, and you're activating muscle protein synthesis via progressive overloading principles and causing there to be enough stimulus to elicit growth, you can build muscle in the complete absence of carbohydrates without a doubt.
So how were you able to kind of discover that? Because that really is the message that we hear all along, especially with maximizing muscle tissue, is like, yeah, you can maybe get stronger not eating the carbohydrates, but you've been able to really maximize your muscle growth also without eating carbohydrates. Can you tell us a little bit about what that process was like?
Yes. I mean, honestly, for me, like my health and my relationship with food was improved so dramatically via the ketogenic diet that I was willing to do that even if it didn't cause muscular growth, because that alone was worth its while for me. So I've just been doing it for the past 7 years. But over that time, my lean mass has improved, my strength has improved, my muscle shape and symmetry and proportions have all improved. I mean, I've grown more tissue in that time. And it's a long game process, but that's going to be true whether you're following any diet. I mean, natural bodybuilding in and of itself is a very long game process. So I've been able to just see over the years that my shape and form and function have all, gotten better. So I'm highly motivated to say that, look, I can be the poster child for people that want to know that you can build muscles with a ketogenic diet. And a lot of people, they say, yeah, but you built all your muscle, back when you were eating carbs. I found I dug up a picture from 2015 the other day and compared that to what my last, competition footage looked like. And black and white difference between the amount of muscle that I've built in that time. And in that time, it was completely ketogenic, no carbohydrates throughout that entire, several year process. So it's 100% feasible. If you want to go the route of without carbohydrates to perform at an elite level, you absolutely can.
Gotcha. What are some of the downsides to staying on a very low carbohydrate diet when you're trying to build muscle? I mean, right off the bat, it really seems like patience would be one of those things. Like it might take you a little bit longer to go through that process to get to where you want to be, but you'll probably do it in a more healthy way. Like what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't really think that if I was to take the last 7 years that I've been ketogenic and had introduced carbohydrates, I don't feel like I would have built much more muscle in that time. I mean, once you've been training for 5-10 years or more, like your gains year to year are going to be pretty incremental. I mean, you're not going to be able to have those beginner newbie gains that you experienced during your first year of lifting. So any natural bodybuilder, regardless of the diet they follow, they don't have an increase in weight, a significant jump in weight with every year that they compete. I mean, a lot of them will post pictures from 2 or 3 years when they competed prior, and their weight may have only changed by a few pounds. So I mean, it's once you've hit that muscle maturity phase, any muscle mass that you build year to year is not going to be, it's going to be more like 1 or 2 or 3 pounds, not like 5, 10 or 15. So yeah, I don't really think that I've left much muscle growth potential on the table by following a ketogenic diet, but throughout that process, I've been able to improve my recovery. I've been able to improve my mobility. I've been able to just have that healthy relationship with food. And I don't have near the swings that I did prior. I mean, used to, I would go into an off season, I'd put on just, 30, 40, 50 pounds in the off season. And it seems like it was much easier to put on unnecessary body fat weight via a carbohydrate heavy diet in the off season. Whereas with a ketogenic approach, my off seasons are much more clean. And I'm able to stay within striking distance of that stage weight much more easily, which I think is a huge benefit, because then I don't have to diet nearly as hard when competition season rolls around. And if I don't have to diet as hard, then I'm not going to risk losing any more lean mass than is necessary.
This doesn't seem like the pendulum would swing quite as far one way or the other. It seems like everything kind of levels out, which is true with low carbohydrate diets and pretty much anybody, especially with like blood sugar issues, either type 1 or type 2 diabetics, I think can really notice that even if you're type 1 and you need insulin to be able to eat whatever food you eat, with a low carbohydrate diet, you can control those swings so much better. So you're not swinging all over the place one way or another. It sounds like it's very much the case with bodybuilding and adding muscle as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, like right now I'm sitting at about 180 pounds. I competed about 160. So, being within about 20 pounds of a healthy stage weight is like a good sweet spot, because I'm not putting on so much body fat that I've got to diet down so hard, but I'm also not staying, incredibly stage lean, which would possibly mean that I'm not taking in enough calories, being in a surplus, which is going to inhibit my ability to build as much lean mass as possible. So having that healthy transition period between a cutting phase and a building phase is so important, regardless of the diet you follow. But I definitely think via a ketogenic low carb approach, you can kind of hedge your bets and mitigate a lot of those adverse effects.
Yeah, I love that. You just mentioned a lot of the benefits of keeping carbohydrates low in the diet, and all of those are very important, but there's also like so many other health benefits that may or may not be related to building muscle. What about things like you've noticed maybe with your skin or with digestion or other things as far as like overall health? You already mentioned like productivity, like being really productive during the day and getting the things done you need to, mental clarity. Like what can you tell us a little bit about those things you've noticed as well when you're staying very low carbohydrate?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from a digestion standpoint, you know, this kind of goes without saying, but a lot of people when they're eating quality, clean foods, much less waste going in to their system, much less waste going out. I mean, like there's no gas, there's none of that stuff. I mean, I'm regular, but it's not like obscene like you will with a bunch of crap diet in your, coming in your system. And then I think that's a pretty good indicator of a healthy GI tract, healthy digestive system. And from like what else was going to go with this? From like just a productivity standpoint, like you said earlier, I don't have to fixate on food so much throughout the day. And the meal prep side of it, that's a huge factor as well. Like so many people spend so much time prepping their meals for these 6 or 7 meals a day. And I mean, I don't have to do that. I cook for, actually, I'm going to be lying here. My wife does most of the cooking. But like normally there's 1 or 2 meals a day and it's just a clean, simple, fresh meal that you don't have to spend hours fixing up and you don't have to spend near as much time meal prepping, which is also a big benefit. And I feel like via a ketogenic approach compared to other diets, because I'm not putting on near as much fat in the off season, I don't have to do near as much cardio to maintain good cardiovascular health as well. I mean, I was for a while running every single day just because I enjoyed the run, but I'm not doing that currently. But my conditioning stays pretty much the same as it was then. Like I'm not having to, try and burn the candle at both ends from a resistance training standpoint and from a cardiovascular standpoint, because I'm not putting on near as much unwanted bulk and unnecessary body fat.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned a meal prep, and I kind of found the same thing. I was preparing the meal to basically be a waste product of some kind. It was either going to get processed through me and become a waste product and look, about the same as it came out when it went in. But also, so much of what I prepared would end up getting thrown away at the end of the week. Like you just get so sick of that food, and it goes bad so quickly. It would be so many trips to the store, all these hours on a Sunday cooking, missing, outdoors and the things that I love, again, for food that was going to get, wasted one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for not throwing away any food. Like I literally throw away 0 food. I mean, I eat every single thing that we've thought out. Our dog eats whatever we don't eat. But not really, because he's eating pretty much just a carnivore diet as well. So there's not really much waste that he's eating either. So, yeah, I mean, I think not contributing to all the waste that's out there. I listened to a podcast a few days ago and it was like some astronomical statistic. It was like of all the food in the United States, 49% gets discarded. So literally half of what we produce, we're also just throwing away, which boggles me. I mean, I don't even understand how that's even possible. But yeah, I think not contributing to that massive waste is definitely the direction we should all strive to go.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. You and I talked a bit about minimalism when we talked before, and I think that's so important. It's interesting. I can't quantify this more than just observing, but we take out a recycling can every single week and our garbage can maybe every 3 or 4 weeks. And that was never the case. We would always take those out at about the same time. And I think diet was a big part of that. We just throw food away a lot less, just like you. Yeah. I do want to define what low carbohydrate is and what that means to you. Is that grams? Is that net or gross carbohydrates? And do you cycle those carbohydrates depending on desired effect during the year where you are with your contest?
I mean, I never really consume more than 20 or 30 grams of total carbs a day. So I mean, my low carb, it's like you get some people in the camp that say, hey, look, it's all based off of your blood levels. Like if you're in ketosis, then you're technically on a low carb diet no matter how much you eat, as long as you're still in ketosis. For me, like I don't really eat a lot of foods that would yield a higher carb count anyways. So just by default, my total carb count throughout the day winds up being about 20 grams on the high end, or 30 grams on the high end, 20 grams probably about average. And depending on where I'm at with my calories, that may be even lower, like sub 10 grams total carbs. So yeah, somewhere in that window seems to be pretty much where I wind up falling. Crystal, my wife, who's 8 months pregnant right now. She has never once in her entire pregnancy eaten more than 30 grams of total carbs. And anytime she does, that's just coming from, a handful of blueberries or something like that. So very minuscule amounts of total carbohydrates in our life.